Fantastic news, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, the best news you're going to get all day is I'm here to answer your fantasy football questions. But the second best news that you are going to be getting today is that we actually have some pretty positive injury updates. So RJ Harvey is expected to see more opportunities while J.K. Dobbins is sidelined. I haven't seen much regarding Dobbins' health from today. The last report that we got was yesterday regarding Dobbins potentially being a candidate for the IR. But let's go ahead and let's skip to what people are really excited about. So obviously CJ Stroud doesn't practice on Wednesday. Pretty serious concussion. I have Nico Collins on my own fantasy team. Obviously, I'm starting Nico Collins regardless, but expectations are going to be that the offense is maybe just a little bit worse until we actually end up getting CJ Stroud back in. Matthew Golden gets in a limited practice. Dobbins doesn't practice. Like I said, Dobbins probably not going to play this week, but we don't know if he's going to the IR just yet. Devontae Adams is expected to play. Isaiah Pacheco does not practice. Probably going to be a Kareem Hunt week. Sam Laporta does not practice. Well, that will be very important to monitor on Thursday and Friday. Ramondre and Kayshon Boutte are both listed out for tomorrow. So Ramondre as well as Boutte are two players that their absence does have an impact. Trevion Henderson is a must-start name. Stephon Diggs is probably somebody that you have to start as well. Right now, the New England Patriots have an implied team total of 28 points against the Jets. They're supposed to score a ton of points. And with these two players missing, just more are going to be going to Henderson and Diggs, of course. Moving over, Ricky Pearsall gets in a practice. Looks like Jameis is going to be the starter for the Giants. So I would go ahead and I would look at picking up a I'm not picking him up, but probably putting Wan'Dale Robinson into your starting lineup. So this is the main thing. Let's go for the first report that we've had regarding this. So Romeo Doubs is going to be good to go. Come on, where Calvin Ridley gets into practice, and where's the initial report of Bucky Irving practicing? Here it is. Bucky Irving seen participating in practice on Wednesday. It was a limited capacity. As of right now, I am expecting that you probably do not have Bucky Irving back playing football this week. I'm going to assume you get one more week of Rachaad White being the guy that is the technical starting running back for Tampa. Obviously, it's not like Rachaad White's that exciting of a play regardless, but I think this is super positive for him to start getting ramped up right now for a potential return in week 12. Again, I would not expect Bucky Irving to be back this week, but I do think that you could see him back in week 12 specifically. But I think that should be it for the injury updates. Obviously, we have a lot of start-sit decisions. We have some trades that we got to look at as well. And I can point out to y'all just exactly how good of a projection Trevion Henderson is now. Trevion Henderson now on Underdog Fantasy is currently higher, lower, 102.5 total yards. For reference, Breece Hall tomorrow night is higher, lower, 79.5. So with no Ramondre, Trevion Henderson is a must-start player. For the love of God, get him inside your starting lineup. And then obviously, if y'all wanted to check out any of these projections over on Underdog Fantasy, links always in the description. It's always in the comment section. Underdog Fantasy is available in almost every single state. And if you use code FLOCK when you sign up to Underdog Fantasy, you will be getting $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. You'll be getting a gimme pick, higher, lower, Drake May, half a total yard for the Thursday night game. And you'll get free questions for these live streams. You're about to see us answer 1,000 free questions from people that took advantage of that Underdog offer. Find that link in the description and comment section. But let's go ahead. Let's start diving into these questions. This first one's going to be a start sit. It's really going to be between Wan'Dale Robinson, Tedero McMillan. You'll have no Wilson. You have no Godwin. DJ Moore is not startable. I wouldn't start Ricky Pearsall his first week back in. I'll plan on going Wan'Dale Robinson with Winston under center, even if it's a tough matchup. Then going down to the flex between RJ Harvey and Quinshon Judkins. Judkins is in an offense that projects to be horrible this week, so it's tough to say that he's a must-start name. But you probably got to go ahead and put him in. If RJ Harvey had a better matchup, I think you could play Harvey over Judkins, but not against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, D-Ball Zach trading away Travis Etienne for Zay Flowers. Right now, running back, we'd have Bijan, Swift, Aaron Jones, Rico Dowdle left over. So running back, we're great. Wide receiver, we're not. So yeah, looking at this team where we need help at wide receiver and we have great running backs already, I think you could trade Travis Etienne for Flowers. Now, Kittle Kids, here, quarterback between May and Baker. You got to start Drake May this week. Running back, Trevion Henderson is an auto start. Wide receiver, Egbuka, Nico Collins are auto starts. Tight end, Ferguson over Kincaid. Kincaid's probably not going to play. And then there in the flex, you'll have no Kamara this week, no Ramondre this week. So as of right now, you're going to plan on going Ricky Pearsall and Troy Franklin. If Ricky Pearsall does not play, pivot over to Tony Pollard. Now, Kittle Kid says, I counter with adding Ferg on my end plus his Laporta. So you want to, wait, what? Are you trying to down tier from Ferguson to banged up Sam Laporta right now? Or is you're saying this is your counter to him? I would rather have Ferguson over Laporta rest of season. And with these league settings, if you have James Cook, Trevion Henderson, you don't exactly need that other running back. It's a fair deal for sure, but I want it also down tier from Ferguson to Laporta to get it done. I think you kind of leave it like this. But it's a fair trade, don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily think you need a running back there, though, to be honest with you. Okay. Now, our next one's going to be Adapt LFG. Trading Harvey and CeeDee Lamb for Tyler Algier, JSN. Give me JSN over Lamb. Give me Harvey over Algier. I think this is a very fair trade. I'm not going to mark either side as a winner. It just comes down to the health of J.K. Dobbins. If we don't get Dobbins back for the over a month, the winning side here is going to be the CeeDee Lamb and RG Harvey end. But if J.K. Dobbins is back in 2 weeks, it's going to be JSN. So it's going to be pretty tough to just mark one side as a winner right now. If you really needed a running back, you can go with the Harvey side. But I think it's fair, and it's just going to come down to what we get with Dobbins. Okay. Now, JMX coming over to running back. We're looking at Kyle Monangai, Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara, Pacheco, Kamara, Hampton. Hampton, Kamara, Pacheco, none of them are going to be playing this week. So it's either Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara or Kyle Monangai. It did sound like Chris Rodriguez was back at practice today. So with that in mind, it's tough to be excited about Bill, but the Bears project worse this week than they have previously. Can y'all spam the chat? Who would y'all rather start? Would y'all rather start Bill Krosky-Merritt or Kyle Monangai? DeAndre Swift clearly is the starting running back in Chicago. Especially DeAndre Swift has the role as the receiving back. Who would you rather have in your lineup this week? Kyle Monangai or Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara? We got Kyle, or JCM. Kyle, JCM. Looks like most people are on the Monangai side of that. Now, Saku says, who should we start this week at the flex? Well, quarterback, we go Allen over Stafford. Running back, you play Judkins, James Cook. Wide receiver, we have JSN London. Tight end, Tyler Warren. You're going to have to flex A.J. Brown. We're not excited about it at all. I don't know if y'all saw A.J. Brown coming through and saying, if you have me in fantasy, drop me. And then he comes through and says, oh, my family life is good, but everything else is hell. So A.J. Brown's still going out there crying about his role in this offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's averaging 11.5 fantasy points per game right now. But yeah, I still think I would start A.J. Brown over Troy Franklin. Now, Negatron says, non-PBR, what do you think? And are there any other counters? Non-PBR format, let's go see through and see what the point per game difference is between CMC and Breece Hall. McCaffrey's averaging about 25 points per game right now, but 7 of those are coming from receptions. So non-PBR, CMC's at about 18 points per game. Breece Hall in a non-PPR format is at about 12. So there's a 7 point per game gap in a non-PPR format between CMC and Breece. Obviously, in a full PPR format, that gap's even larger. And here's the thing, in a non-PPR league, like, wide receivers are severely discounted. If you go ahead and look at Justin Jefferson in a non-PPR format, he's averaging about 9 points a game. So I would, instead of asking for Jefferson, ask for Genty in a non-PPR league. I try to get back the other running back throwing your flex. Like, wide receiver just simply doesn't really matter here for you. And if it's the initial deal, I'm going to take McCaffrey. Because again, non-PPR format, Jefferson's averaging fewer than 10 points a game. Now, Thanos, here, quarterback between Mahomes, Hurts, Goff. You play Patrick Mahomes in a tough matchup. Wide receiver, you play St. Brown in a tough matchup. And then for the flex, is Achane really on your bench? No, you put Achane in. And then, yeah, I guess the guy you're actually benching this week is going to be T. Higgins. Even though Higgins is in a good spot going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, so now Bitter Hornet, always happy to see us. Is that Mariota? Who should we pick up rest of season? Stroud, Fields, Trevor, Rodgers, Geno, Penix. So again, I knew you have Daniels as well. So if you were looking at ranking these quarterbacks here in the short term, like Stroud's probably not playing this week. Fields, no interest whatsoever, especially now that Wilson's injured again. I know Geno has a good matchup this week, but the implied team total for Washington's still like 22.5 points, and you're going to get some rushing upside for Mariota. So I would hold on to Mariota here, to be honest. If you just wanted to pick up another quarterback and you weren't going to drop Mariota for somebody, I think you'd pick up CJ Stroud. But again, Stroud's not going to be playing this week, so I don't necessarily think that's something you got to do right now. Okay, now Colin with our next question. Trading Gibbs and Jawan for JSN. Jawan Jennings, pretty valueless. Wide receiver, we have Adams, Ladd, JSN after this. Running back, we'd have Barkley, Marks. And then now that Bucky Irving's back at practice, and it seems like Bucky's probably going to be coming in to this offense, maybe not this week, but next week. I don't think you can rely on Rachaad White, so it's a fair deal. I'm not going to fault you for making it at all. Like, I think points per game wise and just value wise, it's probably the JSN side. But my hold up with it is if Rachaad White, all of a sudden, somebody that you can't trust, it may be difficult for you to go through and to sell Jahmyr Gibbs because it will just thin out that running back room. Bitter Hornet says we have Burrow, Daniels, JJ Flacco. Should we stick up with these guys or pick up Fields, Trevor, Geno, Penix? I know we talked about this yesterday, but I do think that you would potentially want to go through and drop either Joe Flacco or JJ McCarthy, whichever quarterback that you would rather not play this week. But ultimately, because you have Burrow and Daniels potentially coming back here in the long term, I don't necessarily think that you need to be dropping either Flacco or McCarthy to pick up another one of these quarterbacks, especially with the quarterbacks on the waiver wire aren't super compelling for you. Okay. And then do we drop JJ McCarthy and grab Tyler? Exactly. That's the kind of move that I'd want to make. If you determine that you would rather play Flacco over JJ McCarthy this week, I'd agree. I think we drop JJ McCarthy, but instead of going and picking up another quarterback like CJ Stroud, then in that case, we would turn around and we would go ahead and we'd pick up a player like Tyler Algier, where if you were to get that injury to the guy in front of him, he turns into a league winner. So yeah, I think that's what I would want to do. Now, Blazer is trading JCM, Puka Nacua, Stephon Diggs for Josh Jacobs and Rashee Rice. So JCM, valueless. Would I rather have Puka and Diggs or Rice and Jacobs? If you needed a running back, I would rather have Jacobs and Rice. If you don't need a running back, it's tough selling Puka. But the Jacobs Rice side, it is a lot of value, and it'd be tough to tell you not to do this. Again, especially if you need a running back, because you are getting both a mid RB1 and a mid wide receiver one. Okay. Now, Jared says, I may counter with Jacobs and Nico for CMC and DK. What is your opinion? Jacobs, Nico for CMC and DK. So with this deal here, I think it's a very fair trade for me when I'm looking at so here's the thing. McCaffrey right now, I know is being overshadowed with Jonathan Taylor's production, but McCaffrey's averaging about 25 points per game this season. For reference, Saquon Barkley last year when he was the running back one was averaging 22 and a half. So I think I would maybe do this deal kind of regardless. I view CMC and Jonathan Taylor as the two untouchable assets in fantasy football right now. So if you can go and get CMC in a shallower format like this, I think you go for it. Now, of course, if we could hold on to Rashee Rice and sell Nico Collins, that would be ideal. But I think you would kind of make this deal regardless. Okay. Now, Darty Grass is trading Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins for Javonte and Devontae Adams. So Derrick Henry to Javonte, give me Javonte. Higgins versus Adams, give me Adams. You're paying Flowers to get it done. 14-team format, so the depth's going to matter here. Afterwards, you'd have Puka, Adams, Addison. Running back, you'd have Achane and Javonte. So I would say value-wise, it's probably going to be the Javonte and Devontae Adams side for me. My only holdup, again, is with this being a 14-teamer, it is a little bit tough knowing that 14-team league, depth's going to matter, and you are going to be putting a slight premium on a player like Zay Flowers in that instance. So it's a little bit easier said than done in that case. Okay. So let's move this to our next question. It's going to be from Dreams, trading Charbonnet and St. Brown for RJ Harvey, Rome Odunze, and Michael Pittman. So obviously Harvey over Charbonnet, St. Brown over Rome and Pittman. How bad do you need the running back? I can't see. I think it's a fair deal. Don't get me wrong. A lot of it's going to hinge on the health of J.K. Dobbins, which we don't know right now. If Dobbins were indeed to go to the IR, I'd probably say that we would want to have the RJ Harvey, Rome Odunze, Michael Pittman side. But if Dobbins is back in 2 weeks, I want the Amon-Ra St. Brown side. If you were to do this, I think it needs to be in a setup in which you really need some help at running back. If you don't need help at running back, you maybe keep the best player with St. Brown. Mercury trading Kyron Trevion for Justin Jefferson and Benson. Benson's almost nothing for me. This is Kyron and Trevion Henderson here easily. Guitar Boy trading away Wandale and Khalil Shakir for Justin Jefferson. This is Justin Jefferson. It's not even remotely close. Big Woolies trading away Hendo and Parker Washington for Nico Collins. I'm going to take Nico Collins. If you were to tell me that we were to have no Ramondre Stevenson rest of season, then in that case, I think you can make a strong argument to go ahead and take the Trevion Henderson side. But my concern would be that Ramondre was at practice all week. What happens if Ramondre comes back to this offense next week and it turns back into a committee, which I know sounds crazy with how good Trevion Henderson is. But, I mean, the running back usage all year long has been crazy for the Patriots, so it's not unimaginable. Okay. Now, bank with our next question. Here for the flex. You play Trevion Henderson. Henderson with no Ramondre this week is an auto start. They're like 14-point favorites. Don't get me wrong. Trevion Henderson this week is an absolute auto start. Borderline top 10 running back in our ranks. But my thing is, I don't know if we want to be trading away a player like Nico Collins for him, just with the possibility that long-term rest of season, again, you have Ramondre back in. Okay. Now, Jet E trading away Jalen Ward and Marr for Justin Jefferson. Running back, you have Hendo, Harvey, Genty. So you can afford to do this. If you were a playoff team, I'd probably make this move. If you weren't a playoff team, then it'd be a little bit tougher. And then, I forgot to say this at the very beginning, but you're not going to have you're not going to have Marv this week, of course. Marv had appendix surgery and is going to be missing this week, but I think he'll be good to go next week. Okay. Now, Staffa is trading Gibbs for Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams. It's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. You need help at wide receiver, don't get me wrong, but in this kind of format, if you are trading away one of the true studs, such as Jahmyr Gibbs, I think you need to go ahead and get some more value back, to be honest. Okay. Now, I hate injuries. You start Trevion, auto start this week. Chase Brown, easy start this week. And then in the flex, best wide receiver would be Romeo Doubs, but I'd play Rashad White over Doubs under the assumption that you have no Bucky Irving. But again, I would expect Bucky probably doesn't play until next week. And then if Bucky is a surprise active this week, then you can pivot over and instead look at Romeo Doubs. Okay. Now, Tang Lover is trading RJ Harvey, George Pickens, Rashee Rice for Gibbs, Devonta Smith, and Ladd McConkey. Rice to Gibbs, give me Gibbs. Pickens to lateral move. Harvey to Devonta Smith, lateral move. So, I mean, I think that this is somewhat a fair trade. I think that it is a personal preference type deal. My personal preference probably would be the Jahmyr Gibbs, Devonta Smith, and Ladd McConkey end. But again, if you were to look at like the J.K. Dobbins situation, if you were to have we have an A.J. Brown thing popping up. Yeah, but if we're looking at like the Dobbins stuff, if Dobbins were to be out for the season, then I think you could talk me into the RJ Harvey side. We just don't know yet. Okay, let's move over to our next questions. I don't know if a bunch of y'all used code FLOCK on Underdog or something yesterday, but we got a bunch of free questions to get through. But it looks like we had 100 likes on the stream, so let me send out some more free questions. If y'all don't know how to qualify to win free questions, it's pretty simple. All you got to do is drop a like on the live stream and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the live chat. And we'll go ahead and send out a bunch of free questions. Okay. So let's send this one to Justin. Justin, is it SVT? SVT. Just found you, my guy. Appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream and just sent you over a free trade question. Let's send this next one out to C. Sturmer. Cole is always out here with us. Just found you on the site, my friend. Just sent you over that free trade question. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Okay. And let's send this next one out to Hakuna Kamara. Hakuna Kamara. Appreciate you as well. Just sent you over that free trade question. And we sent out 3, so we'll skip by the 200 like giveaway. Just let me know when we hit 300 likes in the stream, and then we'll send out another batch of free questions. Okay, so Phoenix Lance, longtime member of the flock. Here you got to start Jalen Warren at running back this week. It's just too good of a matchup that you have against the Cincinnati Bengals, where right now you do have, I believe, an implied team total of 27 points for the Steelers. And then for the flex, this one is going to be a little bit tougher. I think I would probably opt to go with the running back over. Actually, no, you have Stephon Diggs. I think you play Diggs probably. Diggs just a really good spot now that, again, Patriots Implied team total 28 points, and you have no Kayshon Boutte in this game. Now, Kakoa is trading away Daniel Jones, Woody Marks, and Tajee Spears for Josh Allen. This is Josh Allen. It's not even remotely close. Remy George, running back. We're going to start the combination of Brees is actually a tough start here. Not going to lie. You have great running backs. You probably play Brees and Jalen Warren, and then you throw Chase Brown in the flex. So it's easy to play those three guys. It'd be tough to rank them against each other, though. Boston Cream Donut between Baker and Goff. I really don't like the Goff matchup. I'd play Baker this week. Running back and flex. I think you play Trevion Henderson at running back. You throw Derrick Henry at the flex. The only other consideration you could have is getting Rome over Derrick Henry because Henry does have the tough matchup. Now, Brian Thomas Sr., here wide receiver, you're going to go ahead and you're going to play DK Metcalf in a really good matchup against Cincinnati. And then in the flex, you play Derrick Henry, even though he's in a tough spot. Now, Blaze Dakota for the flex, you're going to go ahead and you have no Michael Pittman this week. So it's between Dermicado, Judy, Jacoby Myers, and Devin Singletary. If Myers had been with this team longer, I think I'd tell you to go ahead and play Jacoby. But I think actually instead you may have to. I have Jacoby and Jerry Jeudy ranked back-to-back in my rankings this week. Can y'all spam the chat? Again, I have them at 41 and 42. Who would you rather start this week? Jacoby Myers or Jerry Jeudy? Obviously, Jeudy coming off the best game of his season, but Judy's still only averaging 7.5 fantasy points per game. Okay. Okay, let's see. We got Judy, Jacoby, Judy, Jacoby, Judy. I don't know. I have them ranked back to back. I think it's going to be up to you. Probably Judy's the safer play unless we get some confirmation of how Jacoby's going to get used this week. Okay. Now, Zachapotamus trading RJ Harvey for Quentin Johnston. Y'all know the Big Q is my most invested into player this season. So I really hope Quentin Johnston's better rest of year. But with the upside that you get for RJ Harvey with the Dobbins injury, I think you have to go RJ Harvey over him. Bitter Hornet says, yes, Marv, and I need a quarterback. Is this too much? I think it's okay. The thing is, man, I think honestly you're better off. I wouldn't do this. I don't think Caleb is moving the needle because you're going to get Burrow and Daniels back eventually. And I know you have a good team here. So, yeah, I just don't see Caleb like that much of a higher tier than somebody like Flacco in the short term. And again, you have Burrow in the long term. You have Daniels in the long term as well. So I'll try to think. Yeah, I would opt to hold Pearsall here, especially now that he's back at practice. Okay. Now, Real Papa Hunk here running back between Judkins and Genty. You go Genty, much better matchup this week. And then in the flex, Egbuka, London, both are must-start names. Incredible team here. You probably got to put London in against Carolina first, though. Now, Smokey says, or should I do Smith for Judkins? No, you make this deal. If you can trade Avonta Smith and Alec Pierce for Rico Dowdle, you go get Rico Dowdle right now. Hunt trading Genty, Rashad White, and Rashee Rice for CMC. Rashad White's value looks like it's about to be short-lived. This is Rice and Genty for CMC. Leftover receiver, you'd have Puka, Devonta Smith, Jawan Jennings. Puka and Smith are already through their bye. It's a start 8 format. Running back, you'd have. So here's the thing: 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. This is the CMC side easily. But with that being said, it's gonna be a little bit tougher. To say that here in a in a start 8 format instead. When we lost Garrett Wilson with the injury. So I still probably got to mark the CMC side as the winner here, but I'd be a little bit hesitant unless you're very confident with the players that you could get off the waiver wire. Okay. Now, Junior Hassman says, I should be 10-2. I'm tied for 3rd, 4th in points. Trading away future first for Henry and Kelsey. Oh, the first should be the 110 through the 112. I was confused when you said it should be 10-2. So that should be the rookie pick. So if you are a contending team, you're essentially trading the 110 for Derrick Henry and Kelsey. Like, if you think this wins you the league, go for it. The only holdup is do for sure need to be on the record saying that even the 112 is going to be worth more than Derrick Henry and Travis Kelce in Dynasty come this offseason. So you are losing long-term value here. Don't get me wrong. But it could be okay for you to lose that long-term value if it wins you the championship this year. If you were to make this deal and Derrick Henry's going to your bench, though, then no thank you. Now, Dark Unit trading away Jacoby, who cares? Chase Brown, Pickens, and Brees for CMC and Nico. Pickens, Nico, Tomato. Would I rather have Chase Brown and Brees or Christian McCaffrey? I'd rather have McCaffrey. Now, 25 or bust says 2026 picks, 4 and 6. CMC 3, McLaurin. Wait. Oh, our 2026 4th, 5th, and 6th round picks, DeAndre Swift for CMC and a 3rd. McLaurin for... I have no idea what the hell this means, my friend. Let me look who we'd put in the flex. You definitely flex Trevion Henderson this week. It says it's a redraft format. In general, I would say looking at a lineup that has McCaffrey, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Lamb, Egbuka, Jamar Chase, you should be the heavy favorite to win this year. And you do not need to go out there and make any additional trades selling future picks to get additional players in here. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Now, John, with our next question. Running back. It's Woody Marks, White, Kamani Vidal. You probably play Woody Marks against the Tennessee Titans. Okay. Now, B. Peltz is trading Harvey and Wandell for Devonta Smith. Oh, honestly, I think I would hold on to the Harvey and Wandell Robinson side with the outside chance that you do end up getting a serious injury to Dobbins, leading to RJ Harvey being a league winner. And the points per game gap between Wandell Robinson and Devonta Smith may not be massive. Okay. Now, next question is going to be Skittles Hell. Trading Kyron and London for Jamar Chase. Leftover at running back, you'd have Gibbs, Barkley, Hampton. Wide receiver, you'd have Puka, Rice, Chase. It's a start 8 format, it says. Start 8 league. I'd probably hold on to Kyron in London. If it was a start 7 format, I think you can go get Chase. But it's a fair deal. I'm not going to fault you if you do this. Okay. Now, next one's going to be Slush Monkey. So sell Dowdle. One second. Sell Dowdle. Selling Dowdle makes me hesitant. He's my running back 2. Is this worth it? Okay. Dowdle to Rice, up to you. Addison and Pittman for Chase Brown, up to you. I think that this is a very fair deal. If I were you, I would also be very hesitant to go ahead and send away Rico Dowdle. So I think you can make it's a completely fair deal, and I think it's going to be down to your personal preference. I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like I care one way or another. If it was my team, I would probably stick with the side that I already have because I think it's a very fair deal. But again, I wouldn't fault you for making it. Now, Dreams trading away Travis Etienne, Lad McConkey, and Igbuka for Jamar Chase and RJ Harvey. Igbuka to Chase, give me Chase. Etienne to Harvey, lateral move depending on the update that we get with Dobbins. Paying Lad McConkey to move from Igbuka to Jamar in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league when your team's this loaded. Because your team's loaded, I think you can go ahead and make this move in the shallow format. Now, YQ Ravens fan. Here for the flex between Woody Marks and Stephon Diggs. Now that Kayshon Bouttie's ruled out, I'd probably just put Diggs in the lineup. Smokey trading Puka for Dowdle and Judkins. Right now at running back, we have Achane and no running back 2. Wide receiver, we have Pickens and Devonta Smith. The depth here is going to matter. So I would say in general, I think that Puka Nacua has more value than this. But at the same time, with that being said, I don't know, my guy. I mean, you need the extra starter, especially you need some help at running back. So I wouldn't fault you at all if you decided to make this move. Now, Chris Peacock is trading Achane Igbuka for Breece and Jamar. Achane to Chase, lateral move up to you. Igbuka to Breece. I'd probably rather have Igbuka. Like, I have Breece and I'd sell him for Igbuka in a heartbeat. So I'd probably go with the Achane and Igbuka side of this. Let me log out and log back in so we can keep answering these questions. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, again, I don't know how many of y'all have been signing up to Underdog as of late, but we've had you know what I just realized? I didn't even download those emails from yesterday's Underdog signups to get them free questions, so I need to do that right now. So we probably even have more people that can ask free questions here. So we can be streaming for a while answering these free questions. But Chris Peacock, like we said, I think here I'd rather have Achane and Igbuka. The one thing is Achane's not through the bye yet. Drink a beer, trading A.J. Brown for Travis Etienne. I'd rather have Etienne over A.J. Brown quite easily at this point. The Red Fox trading away Stafford, Kyron, Igbuka for Rome, Jacobs, Burrow. Give me Stafford over Burrow. Give me Jacobs over Kyron. Give me Igbuka over Rome. I think it's a fair deal. It's going to be up to you. Bitter Hornet trading Sutton for Caleb. Again, I know that Caleb had the 2 big blow-up games the past 2 weeks against the Giants and the Bengals. They were just great matchups. Week 13, he has to play in Philly. Week 14, he has to play against the Packers. Week 11, he has to play against Minnesota. It's about to be a much tougher stretch for Caleb Williams. So if you wanted to go through and trade for a quarterback, I would rather you try to send Sutton in a 2-for-1 deal with like Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow and try to get to that quarterback like Jalen Hurts. I don't love the idea of us just trading Sutton or Pearsall for like a Caleb Williams range. Okay. Now, Axgren here for the flex. You have to play Travion Henderson. I know Davante Adams is a player that's tough to bench, but again, if you have Henderson in this matchup against the Jets with no Ramadre, he is just a must-start player. Now, Axgren here, quarterback between May and Caleb. We go May, running back. We're going to take the combo of Jalen Warren, Chase Brown. And then in the flex, I think you take Davante Adams. RJ Harvey would be that must-start name this week if it wasn't a tough matchup going up against the Chiefs. Now, Ryan Kurtz is streaming quarterbacks / Jones. Do I do this or Amon-Ra St. Brown or for Bijan? So St. Brown versus CeeDee Lamb, it's a lateral move. It's just up to you. Bijan, in terms of like you needing a running back, you have Etienne, Woody Marks, so you don't necessarily need a running back. I would probably trade St. Brown for Bijan Robinson, but with how this is laid out, St. Brown versus CeeDee Lamb, they're just two wide receivers in the same tier for me that both are already through their bye. So I really do think it's just going to be up to you between them two. Okay. Now, Max Tong, here are Judkins and Jefferson versus Javonte, James Cook, and Marv. Give me James Cook over Jefferson. Give me Javonte over Judkins, and you get Marv for free. So, yeah, it's going to be the James Cook side here pretty easily. Now, Heaven, quarterback between Herbert, Daniels. Daniels won't play, so you play Herbert. Running back, Saquon Barkley, Trevion Henderson, must start names. Wide receiver, you probably go Diggs over A.J. Brown at this point. Tight end, Kittle. And then in the flex, you're going to take Chase Brown is a better matchup, but you probably play Judkins. Okay. Now, Nugsy Bogus trading Kamani Vidal for Ricky Pearsall. I'd probably rather have Ricky Pearsall rest of season. I think expectations with Kamani Vidal are going to be that obviously as the week 12 bye, then after the week 12 bye, there's a chance Hampton's back week 13. And Ricky Pearsall is back at practice now. Okay. Now, Low Finby says 14-team Superflex, no tight end. He wants Ladd. I want Cook. Do you see a trade between us? I want to give J-Mo and swap quarterbacks. So, I would trade Pacheco and Ladd for James Cook in a heartbeat. Y'all both have garbage quarterbacks. Instead of Pacheco, if you want to send J-Mo, I'd send J-Mo and Ladd McConkey. I'd send Worthy and Ladd for James Cook. Like, you definitely need another running back. A running back 2 right now is Bam Knight. I don't know if you can really afford many. Like, I don't think you can afford an upgrade at quarterback because, like, your skill positions are very much lackluster. So it's not like you have a tremendous amount of value that we can just give away. Okay. Now, Area 51 is trading Tataroa, Jake Ferg for Joe Burrow in a Superflex. We have Lawrence Baker left over at tight end. We'd have Kittle, wide receiver. We'd have London, Adams, Ladd. Right now, the expectations are Burrow's back in week 14. So, if I were looking at this, I would probably say, well, you know what? If you are guaranteed to be a playoff team, you can make this move. If you're not guaranteed to be a playoff team, though, it would be a little bit tougher. And obviously, this is only for a super flex format. If anybody's watching this in a one quarterback league, for the love of God, do not do that in your league. Now, Duretch is trading away James Cook for Trevion Henderson and Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I think go get Jefferson and Hendo. Now, Wakili is trading away Bijan, Dowdle, Rome. I'm sorry, Bijan for Dowdle, Rome, and McBride. In general, I think it's a bad idea selling Bijan Robinson after the down week this past week. But if you're able to do it at this kind of cost, yeah, I think you go ahead and you make that move. Okay. And now Ty Ford is trading Hampton, Genty for Bijan and Wandale. Yeah, I still think Bijan's in a different tier of the players here, so I would go ahead and I would take Bijan. Okay, now our next question is Ha Daddy. Quarterback Bo Baker. I'd rather go Baker against Buffalo than Bo against KC. Oh my gosh, you have incredible running backs. We're going to start all these RBs. Start Jacobs, Henderson, Gibbs, James Cook, and then at wide receiver you throw London and Puka, and you got to bench Rome Odunze, which sucks. But you have an incredible team here. Now, Zeno's shot is trading Bijan for Achane. I have them RB3, RB5 in the same tier, so it's going to be up to you. I would opt to go with Bijan Robinson because you're going to get an extra game out of him rest of season in comparison to Devon Achane, where Achane still needs to go through the bye. And at the same time, keep in mind that you're in a situation in which, like, there aren't many games left. So if Achane still has to go through his bye, you're going to get 25% more games played from Bijan through the rest of the regular season here. Now, Suicide Squad, quarterback between May and Dak. Give me May. Running back, we're going to go Gibbs and Marks. Wide receiver, you play Debo, Tetaroa. I would honestly go Addison over JMO with how bad the JMO matchup is, but you're putting JMO in the flex anyway. Now, Captain Condog, here for the flex. It's Montgomery, Tetaroa McMillan, or Kyle Monangai. Full PBR format. Give me Tet. C. Crystal, trading away Hampton, Tet, and Kyle Monangai for Benson, Golden, and Bowers. Bowers the best player in the deal. I'd rather have Benson over Monangai. So it's like Hampton to Bowers upgrade, Monangai to Benson upgrade. We're downgrading from Tetaroa McMillan to Matthew Golden. I'd probably get the best player here in Bowers. Now, Beto is trading away Caleb Gibbs and Quentin Johnston for Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley. Well, Gibbs, best player in it. We're downgrading from Gibbs to Barkley. Caleb to Allen. Upgrade, and we're paying Quentin Johnston to get it done. Like, I would rather have Josh Allen over Caleb and Quentin Johnston. But down tiering from Gibbs to Barkley is a pretty big deal. You probably keep Gibbs here. I would love to tell you Allen and Barkley is the more valuable side of this. I have Allen and Barkley on my own team. But it does seem like Jahmyr Gibbs is just in a different tier than Saquon Barkley at this point. It's close, though. I wouldn't fault you for either way. Now, Sprunger is trading CMC for Ginty and McBride. We have Ferg at tight ends. If that's the case, just keep CMC. Again, CMC is averaging 25 points per game. Barkley, when he was the RB1 last year, was at 22.5. CMC and Jonathan Taylor are the two untouchable assets in fantasy football right now. J. Dollar Sign, you play Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey pretty easily as well, with the two backs in front of him missing this week. Now, Wilson says, trading with the Bijan owner, I'm also getting fab, 3 quarterbacks to force somebody's hand. Details and trade review. Well, I mean, here it doesn't really matter what the trade details are. If you can trade Tyler Algier and the injured Garrett Wilson and get back Nico Collins, it's Nico Collins and it's not like if so I have Nico Collins in my league. If somebody offered me Garrett Wilson and Tyler Algier for Nico Collins right now with Garrett Wilson injured, I would publicly mock them. I would send it in the group chat and go, LOL, look at this idiot. So, yeah, go with Nico Collins easily. Okay. Now, love you, Mace. Appreciate you, my friend. Here, Judkins and Flowers versus Bijan. 14-team format. I know we looked at this earlier where you don't have a ton of depth. I think this trade's more manageable than the other one. I would do this Judkins and Flowers for Bijan Robinson. Okay, let's refresh this. We got a bunch more coming in. The Soaring Eagle quarterback between McCarthy and Kyler. You're playing McCarthy in that super flex spot this week. Running back, you play Chase Brown and Trevion Henderson. Wide receiver, you go London, Flowers. And then in the flex, you're going to just play RJ Harvey with no Dobbins. Easy snap, trading away Bucky and Pickens for JSN. Kincaid's a 0. Leftover at running back, you'd have Barkley, Aaron Jones, Bijan Robinson. So you have plenty of running back production. So I think you like, here's the thing. I think this would be a fair deal if Bucky Irving was fully healthy. But it's not like Bucky is fully healthy. He's back at practice today. But there is still some risk. So, yeah, I would go ahead and I'd take off any Bucky risk if you can pivot over to JSN. Now, it's just Kev trading Swift and Debo for Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I'll take Jefferson there. B. Wong here in the flex. We have Jacoby Myers. I'd love to get. I would take Myers out for Worthy. I know Worthy's been bad. I know it's a garbage matchup, but still. I'm trying to think through this. You got to take Worthy. I mean, Myers ran 14 routes last week, I think. Anthony is trading Derrick Henry and Rashee Rice for Bijan Robinson and T. Higgins. Yeah, I would go ahead and I'd make this pivot easily. I'd still rather have Bijan over Rice. I'd rather have Henry over. Actually, it's a fair deal, actually, now that I think about it. I'm trying to. I could see the argument to be made for Rashee Rice and Derrick Henry. Because, again, I'd rather have Henry over Higgins. I'd rather have Bijan over Rice. I do think that Bijan's the best player in this deal. But I do think that this is going to be a fair deal, and it's up to you. Chris Peacock trading Derrick Henry and Ferg for CeeDee Lamb. Ramondre is 0 for me at this point, essentially. It's like, even Ramondre coming in, I do think he'll have a role, but it's not going to be enough for you to start. Right now at tight end, you have Loveland and Ferg. I think you can make this move for CeeDee Lamb if you really want. But it's tough knowing that Loveland isn't like a must-start tight end by any stretch of the imagination right now. Okay, now Guva, running back, we're going to go Chase. Actually, no, you play Trevion Henderson. Wide receiver, you play Pickens. And then in the flexes, you play Chase Brown and Quinshon Judkins. I would like to tell you to play Harvey. The issue is tough matchup against the Chiefs, and you have great options there. C. Sturmer says, need depth as Garrett Wilson's out with HN and CMC going on bye. So here, CMC to James Cook, clear downgrade. Laporta to Brock Bowers, clear upgrade, and you get Kenneth Walker. I'm sorry. The gap right now in points per game with McCaffrey versus James Cook. McCaffrey's at 25. James Cook's at 18. The gap in points per game here is 7. For reference, the gap in points per game between Sam Laporta, who's at about 12, Brock Bowers is at about 15, is 3 points per game. Like, I understand needing to pick up an additional starter, but how the hell can we say that Kenneth Walker is a start-worthy player? He hasn't scored double-digit fantasy points since week 4. We're in week 11. It's like 2 months ago. So I understand if you need an extra starter, I get it. Like this is a league which depth matters, and the Wilson injuries kind of sucked it out of us. But if you're trading away McCaffrey specifically, I think you need to be getting back more, in my opinion. Somebody other than Kenneth Walker. Okay, now it's just Kev trading away JCM, Khalil Shakir, and Ayuk for Zay Flowers. You're trading away 3 unstartable players for a startable guy. That sounds like a good deal to me. Chris Peacock says, hey, Mason, I'm going to send over 2 trades. I just had this one accepted. Let me know if it's the right move. I'm hurting in this league. I don't see another deal from you. Let me see if I need to send you a free. I'm going to send you over a free trade question voucher just in case you need another one. So this is a league in which depth's going to matter a bit. Rachaad White looks like he's not going to be much with Bucky Irving back at practice. Running back left over, we would have Derrick Henry, Tyrone Tracy, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, and Rachaad White. I like the idea of upgrading and going in, getting that top-end stud, Jamar Chase, but your running back room would just be too bad at this point, especially knowing that this may be the last week Rachaad White's startable. Okay. Now, X-Skull Razor says, just moved to 9-1 and clinched the playoffs. Hell yes, my guy. I am 8-2 in my league and technically have not clinched. If I missed the playoffs, that would be brutal. Tied in between Goddard and Laporta. I think you plan on going Goddard unless Laporta's back in practice tomorrow, and then you can consider swapping. They're going to be in the same tier regardless. For the flexes, A.J. Brown and Aaron Jones will be the 2 plays. I think that's probably a pretty easy call. Ball 69 trading away Addison, Kamani Vidal, Woody Marks for Jefferson and Spears. Spears is 0. Yeah. I mean, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. You go ahead and you get Justin Jefferson. Wilson says they have A.J. Brown and lost Marvin Harrison. We'd also ask for Fab. Yeah, if you can go and trade Pickens, Debo, for Rashee Rice in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, this is a no-brainer. Okay. Now, Wilson E. trading away Woody Marks for Alec Pierce and Keenan Allen. We don't really need Woody Marks. We never start him. Wide receiver, you'd never really start Keenan Allen or Alec Pierce. So, I think this is a nothing trade. I think you're trading a running back that would always be on your bench for 2 wide receivers that probably also always be on your bench. I mean, if you were to go through and if you were to I'm trying to think. If you were to make a deal, I like the idea of you selling Woody Marks, but I think more so you have so much depth at both positions that I would rather it be in a 2-for-1 deal to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup, not trade for 2 other names that would never hit your lineup. Okay. Now, let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be from Walsh. Running back, you play Dowdle, and then in the flex, you play Genty, knowing that he has a great matchup against Dallas. I would like for you to go ahead and get Jalen Warren in great matchup against Cincy. Just not possible there. Now, Ricky Kimball, for tight ends, dear God, you play Zach Ertz over Dalton Schultz this week. Running back, I would go Harvey over ETN, assuming Dobbins misses. And then for the 2 flexes, you play Deebo Samuel and Travis Etienne. Okay. Now, Gons, here at running back, you start Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Deebo Samuel. Tight end, George Kittle. And then in the flex, RJ Harvey. And I think it's a pretty easy call. If Bucky Irving were to play, you'd put him into the flex. But I don't expect Bucky to play this week. Now, Ada Almond here at running back. It's between Chase Brown, Judkins, Marks, Rachaad White. I'd probably go Judkins. I will say that we're not super excited about it, knowing that it is a tough matchup that you're dealing with going up against the Ravens, where you actually do have the Cleveland Browns as 7.5 point dogs, and the over-under on that game's like 36.5. Okay. Okay, so let's move this to our next question. This one's going to be coming out from Jordan. Trading away Judkins and Alec Pierce for Justin Jefferson. Running back, you have Jones, Chase Brown, Bijan. Yeah, Chief, I think you can go get Jefferson. Seems like an all-time low point for Jefferson at this kind of cost. Okay. Now, let me go ahead and pull back up these team reviews. We can go ahead and start checking out some teams here. This one's going to be from BM Cray. Says, been battling an insane amount of injuries this season. After a ton of trades, we don't mind the team. What is the next move? Okay, let me move my box over here so we can check this all out. So we are neighbors effed me. We are 5th in this league when it comes to value. However, we are 6-4. So looks like we're probably 4th in the league when it comes to standings, because we're 6th in this league when it comes to points for. So we're a little bit lucky when it comes to the points scored so far. I'm sorry, the record so far, considering our points scored. Looking at quarterback, we have Drake May, Jaden Daniels. So May still must start quarterback every single week. Daniels potentially comes back by the time May has the bye in week 14. Really good setup. If you could sell Jaden Daniels for a significant amount, we would, but much easier said than done. Running back, we have Javonte and Derrick Henry that we can start every week. Down for depth, we have Benson, long-term upside shot for the playoffs. We have Rachaad White as like a 1-week fill-in that you could go through and throw in that flex spot this week if need be. But then it sounds like Bucky Irving may be back next week. So if that's going to be the case, Rachaad White's value is essentially going to dissipate to nothing. Then you have Jordan Mason or Ramondre looking like just handcuffed running backs now. Going over to wide receiver, we are currently sitting with St. Brown, Tedero McMillan, DK Metcalf, Brian Thomas. Is this a great wide receiver room in a 10-team league? No. But it is a completely fine one. Don't get me wrong. And then going over to tight end, we are currently sitting with Jake Ferg and Gadsden. So it's a completely fine tight end room. Like, it's a well-balanced team. Don't get me wrong. Like, I understand that it's not super strong at any specific position. But my thing with a team like this is, where's the expendable value? Who could we possibly trade and get an upgrade inside the starting lineup with? Because in my opinion, you go through and you look at this, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're a 6-4 team. So these injured guys that are better in the long term than the short term, such as Brian Thomas, Trey Benson, Jaden Daniels, are probably better off on our team than somebody else's. It's like, oh, I would say you have 2 startable tight ends, so let's go through and let's sell one of the tight ends, whether that's Ferguson or Gadsden. I would like to tell you that, but probably can't now that you actually have Gadsden injured. So if you go, 1, you're not going to be able to sell Gadsden right now. 2, if you sell Ferg, and then Gadsden doesn't play this week, you're going to be in a little bit of an awkward spot. So I realistically, trade-wise, have no idea what you could do with this team. If it was a league in which you had multiple flexes, I would probably tell you, let's go ahead and let's pick up Alec Pierce, because Alec Pierce does look to be a startable name. But it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 10-team league, so that depth isn't going to matter much. And because the depth doesn't matter much, in general, I would like the idea of making 2-for-1 deals where you can get improvements inside your starting lineup. But the holdup that we're going to have there is like, who would somebody buy from your bench? Nobody. It does look like people saying in the chat that Gadsden officially did get in the full practice today. Obviously, he got in a limited one yesterday, and he was labeled day-to-day. So if you get full confirmation that Gadsden's good to go this week, and there is a world in which you could take the expendable value that you would have at that point of Jake Ferguson and send Jake Ferguson and Tedero McMillan and go get an upgrade at wide receiver. Or send Jake Ferguson and Rashad White and go get a long-term upgrade at running back. We would, but again, it's going to be much easier said than done. But I think that's all I got for you. I really hope I was able to help you out in some way. But overall, I think it's a well-balanced team. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best team ever, of course. But I think you're in a completely fine spot. Like, you're well balanced. You don't necessarily need anything with the team. Now, LaQuinn is saying, how do you feel? We lost 4 straight after starting undefeated. We lost Malik, Hunter, and Scadaboo to injuries. So it's another injury-riddled team. However, we are the second most valuable team in this league. We started off 6-4. We've scored the 3rd most points in this league. I'm sorry, we started off 6-0, and then we lost 4 straight. It is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So with this being a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, ultimately, depth not going to be super, super important. Instead, we would want to optimize 4 points inside our starting lineup. Running back or quarterback and tight end, we have elite names, right? We have Josh Allen. We have Brock Bowers. So there's nothing really to discuss there. Going over to running back, Bijan is still an elite RB1. I know it's disappointing this past week. I know Algier has the goal line role. He's still A-okay. Rico Dowdle is still an incredible play. Rico Dowdle's your RB2 is insane. Chase Brown is your RB3 is also incredible. So running back, you're in a really strong spot. And then we have the upside shots of Kyle Monungai, Tyler Algier, Byshell, Tootin, where if you were to get an injury to any one of these players, then obviously they turn into a must-start name. Then going over to wide receiver, we have Igbuka, Quentin Johnston, Parker Washington, Brandon Ayuk, and Shaheed. So wide receiver depth is going to be the biggest concern for your team. But because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, wide receiver depth is the least important thing in this league. So the last thing I would ever want to do is tell you, let's go sell one of our stud running backs to get a wide receiver. Like, that's not super interesting. What I would probably look to do here instead is if you could just make a simple trade where you sell Joe Burrow when he comes back to just get a solid wide receiver 2 that you feel good about putting in your lineup, like T. Higgins. Or you sell Colson Loveland if he has another big spike for a solid wide receiver of that ilk. I think that would put you in a much better spot than panicking and needing to go through and make some significant trade where we sell one of our stud running backs. Because in reality here, in your 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, if you're just going to sit here and start Bijan Robinson, Rico Dowdle, and Chase Brown every single week, you'll find yourself in a really good situation. But I think that's all I got for you. Again, I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. I think you still have an incredible team even after the injuries. But it does look like we hit 300 likes on the stream, so we need to go ahead and send out some free questions in the chat. Again, if y'all wanted to qualify to win free questions, it's really simple. All you got to do is drop a like on the live stream and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the live chat, and we'll get those free questions sent out to you. Let me pull that page up. Okay. Let's send this over to Precise V2. Just found you and just sent you over that free trade question. Appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream, my friend. And let's send this next one out to Nerd Space. Happy to see you as well. And just got that sent over to you. Okay. And let's go back to Colin's question. Says, hey, we're 5-5 right now and wondering what I should do about my flex play. The top 2 teams in my league are obviously stacked and I need to try to get to a similar level. Should I be looking to get 2 solid players for Gibbs or should we be looking to sell Bowers? So I would say in general, this is a start 7 format. So it's a league in which you start 2 receivers in a flex. This is not the kind of league in which I want to be selling the stud and down tiering to get 2 startable names in return. Sometimes you could look at doing that if it was like a 14-team format, then sure. But here with this instead being a 12-team start 7 league, I would say the majority of times you would be better off just going ahead and holding on to those studs if possible, holding on to the elite level tight ends. But let's go ahead and check this out. So we are currently the 5th team in this league analyzer right now. We are 5-5. We've scored 1,200-ish points in this league. We've won 3 games straight, and we are 3rd in this league in points scored. So we're a little bit of an unlucky 5-5, if you'd want to say that. But looking at the setup that we have when it comes to this current roster, we have the most value at wide receiver in the entire league, according to the league analyzer. Right now, we are currently sitting with Jackson Smith-Njigba, Devontae Adams, and then we have Ladd McConkey that we can just jam into the flex every single week. So obviously, very happy about having these 3 wide receivers. Beyond that, it's going to be very difficult to imagine you ever going through and starting somebody like Jawan Jennings, Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson. So in general, if there were the premium handcuff running backs out there like Tyler Algier, I'd much prefer rostering those names, but there aren't any. So like we're okay. But I'd say also in general, if any of those wide receivers like Jennings, Jeudy, Christian Watson pop enough where all of a sudden you could turn around and actually look to sell them and get a decent amount of value in return, we would, but much easier said than done. And I know nobody's buying those wide receivers right now. Going over and looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Daniel Jones and Jared Goff that we can play the matchups between weekly. Don't love it, to be completely honest. Looking at the waiver wire, though, there aren't really anybody that we would get excited about there. And at the same time, like in terms of us making a trade to get an improvement. Oh, you're wanting to sell 2 solid players for Gibbs. Oh, okay. The other way around. I was like, oh, I thought we had Gibbs on this team. But in terms of us going and trading for a better quarterback, which in general I would like to do if this is our quarterback room, you don't have much when it comes to the expendable value with us being able to go through and make a trade like that. We have the elite tight end with Brock Bowers. Happy to have him. I think if you were looking to sell Bowers, now's not the time, coming off a primetime game in which he just got absolutely wrecked. Maybe if he just blows up against the Dallas Cowboys, then at that point you could potentially look at the idea of selling him, but not right now. You're just not going to get enough. And then we have the backup tight end with Loveland. So looking at this team, I realistically don't know what you could potentially go out there and try to do. Because if there was something I'd want to do is I would probably want to upgrade our running back depth or upgrade our quarterback position. I like the idea that you're saying, let's go through and let's sell 2 quality players and go get a stud such as Jahmyr Gibbs. I'll say with that, it's maybe a little bit of a tough spot for us to get Gibbs now. I don't see where you could possibly have the expendable value coming from with this team. Like, sure, if you can sell Jawan Jennings and Saquon Barkley and go get Jahmyr Gibbs, do it. If you like any 3 of these bottom end wide receiver, Jennings, Judy, Christian Watson, let's go ahead and let's make that move. But outside of that, where is the additional value on this roster? Where are the players that you could potentially look to sell? I don't see them. I think the only thing I would do, like your team's very well balanced for your format. The only thing that I would do in your league is now that Bucky Irving's back at practice, I don't think Sean Tucker really has much appeal whatsoever as a premium handcuff option. I would cut Sean Tucker and I would pivot over and pick up Blake Corum. Because Blake Corum and Emmanuel Wilson as well. You could consider cutting Christian Watson to pick up Emmanuel Wilson. Because if you wanted to make one of those moves like that, you kind of have to put yourself in a position where you find the next option like Rico Dowdle, right? You find the next player that if the starter would go down in front of them, all of a sudden they turn into a must-start name. I don't see how else you could potentially like pop in value or afford a player like Gibbs. I think the only thing that I would do with this team, I know we've been talking in circles for 10 minutes now, but I'm just trying to figure out if there is a single trade that's viable here. I don't think that there is. I think you just pick up Blake Corum, drop Sean Tucker. And if Loveland pops again, then you could potentially try to sell Loveland and Woody Marks and go get that upgrade when it comes to running back. But right now, I think that's going to be much easier said than done. But I really appreciate you and hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Now, let's move this over to Ha Daddy. Says, I was offered Puka, Kyron, Cook for Jacobs, Chase Brown, and Lamb. We're worried about Kyron's volume, or we are offered Cook for Chase Brown and Baker. It's a 12-team, 1 quarterback format. We are currently third in the league analyzer here. We have scored the 9th most points, yet we're 6-4. So we're maybe a little bit lucky when it comes to volume. I'm sorry, when it comes to our record. And yeah, I know we are worried about Kyron's volume here. So first deal, pivoting from Lamb to Puka, upgrade, Chase Brown to Kyron, or Jacobs to Kyron down, or Jacobs to James Cook, upgrade, Chase Brown to Kyron. I think you got to take the Puka, Kyron, James Cook side of this. In my mind. And I don't think it's that difficult either. And actually, it looks like, did you already make this trade? Recent trades, yeah, we got Puka, Kyron, James Cook here. I think you made the right move for sure. And then now looking at how this team's situated, it's the start 8 format, so the depth's going to matter a bit, right? You're going to be starting a combined 6 running backs and receivers weekly. Quarterback, we have an elite name. We have Drake May that we can plug and play every single week. Running back, we have James Cook as RB1. That's great. Kyron as your RB2 is great. Trevion as your RB3 is incredible. RJ Harvey as your running back 4 is even better. So running back, you're in a really good situation. Going over to wide receiver, you have Puka Nacua as your wide receiver 1. Phenomenal. AJ Brown, your wide receiver 2, whatever. Worthy, your wide receiver 3 is fine. And then Brian Thomas, your wide receiver 4 is just fine. I would consider picking up Theo Johnson. With this, and honestly, I think you can make an argument that you can afford a trade for a better tight end. Where if you were worried about Kyron Williams, you could go out there and try to send Kyron and Kincaid and get over to Trey McBride, get over to Brock Bowers. Or maybe you go with a lesser tier running back. Maybe you try to send like RJ Harvey and Kincaid and get over to an option like Tyler Warren. But overall, honestly, I think you made an incredible trade here. Even if you are worried about Kyron Williams, if you were to flip and sell Kyron, I'm not going to fault you for it. But I think how you probably structure that move is you probably look to get a tight end in return. But yeah, incredible team. I really like the way that you're set up now. And then I think Theo Johnson could be worth a roster spot as well. Okay. Now, clutch box with the next team we're going to look at. It says, hey, Mason, we're sitting at 6-4. Not sure if we should make any more moves. What are you thinking? Okay, so 6-4. We are the number 1 team in the league analyzer, and we've scored over 200 more points than the next best team. So honestly, we are very unlucky to be 6-4 here. We should actually be a lot better than this, record-wise. Like, not only are we number 1 in points scored, but we're number 1 in points scored by a mile. And we have the most valuable team in this league by a mile. We have the most valuable quarterback room. It's a super flex league where we're going to be able to start the combination of Josh Allen and Drake May every single week. For the Drake May buy, you have Tua that you can plug in. You like to see it. Going over to running back. You have Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, Rico Dowdle is your RB3. Ashton Genty is your RB4. Credible running back room. Wide receiver, you have Igbuka and Ladd McConkey. You don't need a lot of depth here. Tight end, you have Kelsey. Honestly, I think your team is so strong. You can afford to go out there and you can afford to just get yourself a true elite level tight ends. That if you wanted to go and get Trey McBride, if you wanted to go and get Brock Bowers, offer Genty and Kelsey for McBride, offer Genty and Kelsey for Bowers. These teams that are just absolutely loaded, obviously tight end's a luxury position. But if you're this strong where you've scored 200 more points than the next highest scoring team, might as well just be the strongest team at every position in the league. So that would be my move if there was one to be made. And then, yeah, honestly, I think you just ride this to the championship. I know that you're only 6-4, but I think you're actually a lot better than your record, to be honest. But I appreciate you and hope I was able to help you out in some way here. Now let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be from Blackfire. Says, hey, Mason, got your hat today. Looks and feels amazing. Hell yes. Happy to hear that. And real quick, I know I've said this a bunch in the live streams lately, but I'm shipping out 100 hats a day, and I'm hearing from 5 people a day saying oh, I got a hat. Here's a picture of the hat, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a little bit paranoid that not all of y'all are getting the hats that I'm sending out. So just to see a gauge of how many of y'all, okay, perfect. Trustlock just got his as well. How many of y'all have gotten one of the free hats that we've sent out? Please let me know in the chat right now. Cause the goal is, again, I'm sending out 2,500 free hats. Okay, perfect. Buzz got one. So the hope is that eventually everybody that's in this chat has a free hat. Perfect. It sounds like a bunch of people. Got it. Gritty says, how do I get a hat? If y'all didn't, but if y'all haven't filled out the free giveaway form, it's too late. I'm sorry. We said over and over again, every day for a month in the live streams. I had sent out an email to everybody on the site saying, hey, if you want a free hat. I had sent out a message in the Discord and I sent out a tweet. Did about all I could to make sure that y'all knew how to fill that out. Okay. If you got the season pass and you filled out the form, you should still have a hat. But if you're in Canada, I've not done the international shipments yet. We're doing the US ones first because those are faster. John, what's messed up is you didn't make it to the Flock meetup this year. Could have got that. You could get picked out as many hats as you wanted for free. Teresa, that's going to be a custom order that we got to do. But I'm saving you a bunch of hats. Don't worry. But yeah, please, when you get your hat, let me know just so I know that they are actually getting there. So anyway, Blackfire says, hey, Mason, got your hat today. Looks and feels amazing. Wanted to get your input on any other trades or waiver wire pivots. Was able to get Mason and Ricky by giving away Gadsden. Should I ride with what I got or make small changes? Hoping to grab Burrow and Trey Benson. So we did get Joe Burrow and we got Trey Benson as well off the waiver wire. So we're sitting pretty there. We didn't really need Gadsden. Don't love the return that we got from him, but ultimately, if you're sitting with George Kittle, you're never really starting him anyway. But anyway, if we're going to be looking at quarterback, we are sitting with Justin Herbert as well as Joe Burrow. And actually, let me double check our record real quick. We're 5-5. We've scored the third most points in this league, so we're a little bit unlucky with the record, but still, we need to win games now. Start 9 format. So start 9 format example would be like It's a league in which you start 2 wide receivers and 3 flexes. May not exactly be the case. Or, I'm sorry, 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. Well, that's what a start 9 league is like. So the depth here is actually going to matter a considerable amount. I'm looking at quarterback. We have Herbert that we can play here in the short term. We have Burrow for the long-term upside. Awkward thing will be that Herbert's going to have the week 12 bye. Burrow won't be back by then. But we still are going to be fine at quarterback, right? So we're just going to have to pick up another option like Bo Nix. A running back is the biggest concern for this team, and it's not even remotely close. We have Kamani Vidal that we can play this week. We have Tracy as a depth piece, a desperation play. Benson for the long-term upside. And then we have Trevion Henderson, obviously, is the name that we are excited about. Then going over to wide receiver, we have JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, T. Higgins, Ricky Pearsall. So the saving grace is this is a start 9 league where presumably you can start 5 wide receivers. So even in the instance where your running back 2 is garbage, it's just going to make up so much of a smaller percentage of your starting lineup output weekly in comparison to if this was a 2 wide receiver 1 flex. If the league analyzer is incorrect here, and this is a league in which you can only start like 3 wide receivers a week, then in that case, you need to sell Nico Collins and Kamani Vidal and get the best running back that you can in return. However, again, I don't think that's the case. The league analyzer is probably correct. You can probably put a ton of wide receivers inside this starting lineup. And with that in mind, I actually like the way that this team is built specifically for your format. And then tight end, we have Kittle that we can start every single week. And then we have Harold Fannin for the Kittle bye week later on. If Harold Fannin gets himself a really big spike week this next week, I'd love to see if we could sell Harold Fannin and a running back to go get an RB upgrade, but you're just not going to be able to make that kind of move right now. So again, I think that you should sell one of the wide receivers such as Nico Collins and a 2-for-1 deal with a running back like Kamani Vidal to go ahead and get a running back upgrade. Now, but if it's a league in which you can actually start up to 5 wide receivers weekly, you leave this team exactly how you have it and you just work the waiver wire and hope that we can hit on a running back eventually. I know that's a lot, but long story short, for your league settings, I like the team. For somebody else's league settings, I really wouldn't. But for yours, I like it. But let's move this over. Z Millie says, was wearing my hat at the gym today and someone came up and said, yo, you watch Mason? To which I responded, hell yeah, you too. Then he said, how about that team at Essen? That's hilarious. If y'all see somebody wearing a flock hat around, y'all better go and talk to him. Okay. Let's refresh this. Let me see. Do we have it? Yeah, we have some more quick questions coming in. Let me pull those up quickly. Boom, 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 boom. This one's from Ryan. Says, said this earlier, but also forgot to include Dak. If Dak's included, it's definitely a hell of a lot better, especially, yeah, if we have Daniels and Flacco. I would make this deal in that case. Kind of a lateral move from St. Brown to CeeDee Lamb, and Shakir to Dak Prescott's an upgrade. Now, Justin says 4 and 6, Dart, Nix, Gibbs, Chase Brown, Henderson, Harvey, A.J. Brown, Keenan, Metcalf, Worthy, Parker, Washington, and David Njoku. So 4 and 6, we need a win right now. Yeah, Chief, I think you just go ahead and you get Rico Dowdle. Like, Rico Dowdle, let me see what the underdog projections are right now. He just projects so well every single week. Obviously, the offense is garbage, but still. What do the projections look like for these running backs this week? And like the thing is, A.J. Brown's a massive name, but again, I have him ranked as a high-end wide receiver 3 rest of season. Right now, A.J. Brown's the wide receiver 41 in points per game. Rico Dowdle is right now higher or lower 108.5 total yards on Underdog. Chase Brown's higher or lower 77.5. Like they are just in a completely different tier. So if you can go make that deal to get to a player like Rico Dowdle, you probably got to. Okay. Now, Abraham trading ETN for Bucky Irving. I will take Bucky Irving under the assumption we have a winning record. Squid quarterback Bo Nix versus Baker Mayfield. I probably take Baker with Bo Nix in a tough matchup. And then in the flexes, Trevion must start name this week. And I'd say Chase Brown, same thing. Now, Precise V2 says, made this trade the reverse way. How did I do? Bijan versus Gibbs, lateral move up to you. Diggs versus Franklin and Herbert. If you needed a quarterback, I would want the Justin Herbert side. If you don't need a quarterback, I would want the Diggs side. So I think that this is a very fair trade. Again, since you said you made it in the reverse way, I don't exactly know which one we got, which one our team is. But again, my main thing would be I'm going to prefer Bijan. If I didn't need a quarterback, I'm going to prefer Gibbs if I did. Now, this one's from Outgoing Teriyaki. Says, do I make this trade or stand put with the roster? London to Chase, clear upgrade. So here's the thing. I don't care what your team is. I don't care what your record is. In my opinion, it's kind of clear that you would rather have Chase over London. Bucky versus Kamara, even if Bucky doesn't come back for a month, which he's at practice already, Kamara is not startable. So there's no real risk. See, it's Jamar Chase and Bucky Irving easily. You're taking on you're getting a ton of upside and not really taking on any risk because who cares about Kamara? Now, our next question's from Bengals fan since 05. Trading Etienne and Michael Pittman for Derrick Henry. Wide receiver, you have Puka, St. Brown, Rice. Running back, you have Rachaad White, Bucky. I think it's going to be a fair deal. I think it's going to be up to you. I could see you actually getting Pittman in one of those flexes. If it was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I'd be more likely to tell you just grab Derrick Henry. Dude, we got to log out and log back in. Give me 1 second to do just that. Okay. Move back to this. Yeah. So long story short, I think it's a fair deal. It's going to be up to you. Now, Art trading a future first and Harold Fannin for Tedero McMillan. I think this is also a fair deal, up to you. Superflex league, the first round pick and Tat are pretty close to me, to be honest. If there's a 1 quarterback format, I'd prefer Tat. Okay. Now, Cooper Marr here for the flex. Brees is the best running back. Diggs the best wide receiver. I know Brees is in a horrible matchup, and right now the Jets are 14-point dogs, but I think you probably just got to play Brees. Okay. Now Maldi here at running back, you play Javonte, Trevion Henderson. Wide receiver, you play Devonta Smith, and then in the flex, you play Travis Etienne. Nifty backbone, running back, you're going to play RJ Harvey. And then in the flex, you probably play Kamani Vidal. Big dog trading Kyron and Brian Thomas for Judkins and T. Higgins. I'd rather have Kyron over Judkins. I'd rather have Higgins over Brian Thomas. So it's a fair deal. I think it's going to be up to you. For me personally, I probably would prefer us going through and I'd probably take Kyron Williams here. But I think we're all caught up. Y'all are never going to believe this. But yes, it's the football season. So normally I ain't got anything going on other than sitting in this office and live streaming and making videos. But I actually got to go to a kickball game tonight. My first ever kickball game. Y'all know who Sal is, of course, Sal from the Flock League. And he has a kickball team. My fiance's on it. I didn't join because I was like, hey, it's football season. I got a live stream, blah, blah, blah. I'm busy. But apparently somebody backed out of their game today. And if they don't get somebody else there, they will forfeit. So I told them I will live stream early so I can make the game. So I'll be there. And of course, I'll be live tomorrow answering questions. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us as always. We'll also be continuing to box up all those hats and get those free hats out to y'all. So hope I get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow. Much love. And yeah, I'll see you then.